morning, Mr. President. My name is Changu Siwawa, and I'm from Botswana. I just wanted to find out how committed is the U.S. To assisting Africa in closing gender inequalities, which are contributing to gender-based violence, which it threatens the achievement of many Millennium Development Goals, such as access to universal education, eradicating HIV and AIDS.
Well, listen, I am. You will not find anybody more committed than I am to this issue, and let me tell you why. First of all, I was mentioning earlier, if you look comparatively at other at countries around the world, what societies succeed, which ones don't. One of the single best measures of whether a country succeeds or not is how it treats its women. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Because, first of all, women are half your population. So if you have a team, we just finished the World Cup, right? If you have a soccer team, what y'all call a football team, and you go out and the other side has a full team, and you send out half your team, how are you going to do? You will not do as well. If you are not empowering half of your population, that means you have half as few possible scientists, half as few possible engineers. You are crippling your own development unnecessarily. So that's point number one. Point number two is if you educate and empower and respect a mother, then you are educating the children. Right? So, with a man, you educate him, it's okay. A woman, you educate her, and suddenly you've got an entire village, an entire region, an entire country suddenly is becoming educated. So this is an absolute priority for us. And we'll be discussing this with the heads of state and government that we've seen next week. And we've seen some progress on some fronts, but this is where sometimes traditions can get in the way. And as many of you know, my father was from Kenya, and that's the Kenyan contingent. But I think what applies to Kenya is true and applies to many of the countries in Africa. And this is not unique to Africa. We see this in other parts of the world. Some of the old ways of gender relations might have made sense in a particular setting, right? So in Kenya, for example, if you in the Luo tribe, polygamy existed. It was based on the idea that women had their own compounds, they had their own land, and so they were empowered in that area to be self-sufficient. And then urbanization happens. Suddenly, the men may be traveling to the city, and suddenly there's another family in the city, and the women who are left back in the villages may not be empowered in the same way. And so what worked then might not work today. In fact, does not work today. And if you try to duplicate traditions that were based on an entirely different economy and an entirely different society and entirely different expectations, well, that's going to break down. It's not going to work. So, as a continent, you have to update and create new traditions. And that's where young people come in. You don't have to accept what's the old ways of doing things. You can respect the past and respect traditions, while recognizing they have to be adapted to a new age. Now, I have to say there's some traditions that just have to be gotten rid of, and there's no excuse for them. You know, female genital mutilation, I'm sorry, I don't consider that a tradition worth hanging on to. I think that's a tradition that is barbaric and should be eliminated. Violence towards women. I don't care for that tradition. I'm not interested in it. It needs to be eliminated. So part of the task is to find what traditions are worth hanging on to and what traditions you got to get rid of. I mean, you know, there was a tradition in medicine that if you were sick, they would bleed you. That's a bad tradition. We discovered, you know, let's try other things like medicine. You know, that's you know, so we don't have to cling on to things that just don't work. And subjugating women does not work. And the society will fail as a consequence. So everything we do, every program that we have, any education program that we have, any health program that we have, any small business or economic development program that we have, we will write into it a gender equality component to it. This is not just going to be some side note. This will be part of everything that we do. And the last point I'm going to make, in order for this to be successful, all the men here have to be just as committed to empowering women as the women are. That's important. So, you know, don't think that this is just the job for women to worry about women's issues. The men have to worry about it. And if you're a strong man, you should not feel threatened by strong women.